First contact. The vast emptiness of space shimmered as the sleek diplomatic vessel of the Galactic Confederation pierced through the darkness. At its helm, Ambassador Selana of the Zorax species expertly guided the ship towards the small blue planet that had piqued the interest of her people for centuries. Earth, a world teeming with life, filled with beings that had yet to venture beyond their own star system. Selana's mission was simple: observe and report. The Confederation had strict rules about non-interference with pre-spaceflight civilizations, and Earth was no exception. As the ship entered Earth's atmosphere, Selana's antennae twitched with excitement. This was her first solo mission, a chance to prove herself worthy of the trust placed in her by the Confederation Council. She had studied Earth's languages, cultures, and histories extensively, but nothing could prepare her for the beauty of the planet as it came into view. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. Red warning lights flashed across the control panel, and Selana felt a jolt of panic. "Computer, status report," she commanded, her four-fingered hands dancing across the holographic interface. "Warning. Unknown energy signature detected. Ship's systems compromised. Crash imminent," the AI responded in its calm, melodic voice. Selana's heart raced as she fought to regain control of the plummeting vessel. This wasn't supposed to happen. Her ship was equipped with the most advanced stealth and defensive technology in the Confederation. How could it have been compromised so easily? As the ship hurtled towards the Earth's surface, Selana caught glimpses of vast oceans and lush green landmasses. She gritted her teeth, using all her piloting skills to aim for a less populated area. With a deafening roar, the ship plowed into a dense forest, carving a deep furrow before coming to a violent stop. Dazed and bruised, Selana unstrapped herself from the pilot's seat. Smoke filled the cabin, and sparks flew from damaged consoles. She knew she had to get out quickly. Grabbing an emergency survival pack, she stumbled towards the airlock and cycled it open. The humid air of Earth hit her like a wall as she stepped out onto the alien world. Her pale blue skin, evolved for the cooler climate of her home world, immediately began to glisten with moisture. She took a deep breath, analyzing the air. It was breathable, but the high oxygen content made her feel slightly lightheaded. Selana's large, multifaceted eyes scanned the forest around her. The ship had carved a path of destruction through the trees, leaving a trail of broken branches and upturned earth. She needed to find shelter and assess the damage to her ship. More importantly, she had to avoid contact with the indigenous population at all costs. As she pondered her next move, a sound caught her attention. It was unlike anything she had heard in her briefings on Earth's wildlife. A rhythmic thudding, growing louder by the second. Selana's antenna stood on end, sensing danger. Suddenly, a figure burst through the underbrush. Selana found herself face to face with one of the planet's natives. The human was male, tall and lean, with sun-bronzed skin and a scraggly beard. He wore tattered clothing that had clearly seen better days, and in his hands he clutched a crude axe. For a long moment, neither moved. Selana's mind raced. This was exactly the scenario she had been trained to avoid. Direct contact with a pre-spaceflight civilization could have dire consequences, altering the natural course of their development. The human was the first to break the silence. He spoke, his words unintelligible to Selana, but his tone cautious and questioning. He gestured towards her ship, then back to her. Selana slowly raised her hands, palms out, in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "I mean you no harm," she said, knowing he wouldn't understand her words, but hoping her tone would convey her intentions. The human tilted his head, considering. Then, to Selana's surprise, he lowered his axe and mimicked her gesture. He spoke again, this time pointing to himself and uttering a single word repeatedly. "Alex," he said, thumping his chest. "Alex." Selana realized he was telling her his name. She pointed to herself and replied, "Selana." A smile broke across Alex's face, transforming his features from wary to almost boyishly excited. He gestured for her to follow him, pointing deeper into the forest. Solana hesitated. Following this human went against every protocol she had been taught. But as she glanced back at her ruined ship, she knew her options were limited. With a silent apology to her superiors back home, she nodded and fell into step behind Alex. As they trekked through the dense foliage, Solana's mind whirled with questions. How had this human ended up alone in this forest? How long had he been here? And most pressingly, how would his presence complicate her mission to remain undetected while she waited for rescue? After about 20 minutes of walking, they emerged into a small clearing. Solana's eyes widened as she took in the sight before her. A crude but ingenious shelter stood in the center, constructed from salvaged pieces of what appeared to be a small plane. Various handmade tools and weapons were scattered about, and a small garden of native plants grew in neat rows to one side. Alex gestured proudly to his camp, then pointed to a small stream that ran along the edge of the clearing. He mimed drinking, inviting Solana to refresh herself. As Solana cautiously approached the stream, marveling at the human's survival skills, a distant rumble caught her attention. She looked up, her extra-sensitive hearing picking up a sound that Alex had yet to notice. It was a sound she recognized all too well: spacecraft entering the atmosphere. Panic gripped her as she realized the implications. Those ships weren't Confederation vessels coming to her rescue. No, these had to be the same hostiles that had shot her down, and they were coming to finish the job. Solana turned to Alex, who was now looking at her with concern, having finally heard the approaching ships. In that moment, Solana made a decision that would alter the course of both their lives and potentially the fate of two civilizations. She grabbed Alex's hand, pointing urgently towards the sky and then to his shelter. Somehow, the human understood. His eyes hardened with determination, and he nodded quickly, beginning to gather his most important tools and weapons. As the roar of the approaching ships grew louder, Solana helped Alex disguise the entrance to his shelter. They worked in frantic silence, using vegetation and debris to camouflage the structure. Just as they finished, the first ship appeared overhead, its sleek, predatory form a stark contrast to Solana's diplomatic vessel. Alex pulled Solana into the shelter, and they huddled together in the dark, cramped space. Solana could feel the human's rapid heartbeat and smell the fear-induced sweat on his skin. Yet despite his terror, he positioned himself protectively in front of her, his crude axe held ready. The sound of the ships was deafening now. Solana could hear the whine of anti-gravity engines as they hovered over the area where her ship had crashed. There was a series of loud explosions, and she knew with a sinking feeling that the hostiles were destroying the evidence of her landing. For hours, they remained hidden as the ships methodically searched the forest. Solana marveled at Alex's ingenuity. His shelter, while simple, was remarkably effective at masking their heat signatures and scent. As night fell, the ships finally departed, leaving behind an eerie silence. When they finally emerged from hiding, Solana saw the destruction left in the wake of the search. Large swaths of the forest had been burned or flattened. Her ship was nothing more than a smoking crater in the earth. Alex placed a comforting hand on her shoulder, and when she turned to look at him, she saw not pity in his eyes, but a fierce determination. He pointed to himself, then to her, and made a gesture that unmistakably meant together. In that moment, Solana realized that her mission had irrevocably changed. She was no longer just an observer of humanity. She had become an active participant in their story. And this human, this remarkable, resourceful being, was now her ally in a conflict that threatened not just her, but potentially his entire world. As they stood together at the edge of the clearing, watching the last traces of the hostile ships disappear into the night sky, Solana knew that the real challenge was just beginning. She had to find a way to contact her people, warn them of this new threat, and do it all while protecting Alex and the secret of humanity's first contact with alien life. The diplomat in her recoiled at the monumental breach of protocol. The survivor in her was simply grateful for Alex's help. and a small, unexpected part of her was exhilarated by the prospect of working alongside this fascinating example of humanity. Whatever came next, Solana knew one thing for certain: her view of humanity and her role in the galaxy would never be the same again. The unlikely alliance. As dawn broke over the forest, Solana emerged from Alex's shelter, her multifaceted eyes adjusting to the golden light filtering through the canopy. The events of the previous day felt like a distant nightmare, but the smoking crater where her ship had been served as a stark reminder of her new reality. Alex was already awake, tending to his small garden with a focus that bordered on reverence. Solana watched, fascinated by the gentle way his calloused hands cared for the alien plants. When he noticed her, he smiled and beckoned her over, pointing to a cluster of vibrant, star-shaped flowers. "Stellaria," he said, his voice rough from disuse. "Star flower." Solana's translator implant, miraculously still functioning, processed the word. She repeated it, the unfamiliar sounds feeling strange on her tongue. Alex's eyes lit up at her attempt, and for a moment, the weight of their circumstances seemed to lift. But the moment was short-lived. A distant boom echoed through the forest, causing birds to take flight in panic. Alex's posture immediately changed, his body tense and alert. He grabbed Solana's arm, pulling her towards a concealed trapdoor she hadn't noticed before. As they descended into the hidden chamber, Solana marveled at the ingenuity of it. The walls were lined with salvaged electronics, makeshift antennas, and what looked like hand-drawn maps. In the center stood a cobbled-together communication array, its components a mix of Earth technology and something else. Alex noticed her surprise and grinned sheepishly. He pointed to a sleek, silvery device integrated into the array. "Not from here," he said haltingly. "Fell from sky, like you." Solana's heart raced. Another alien crash. She examined the device closely, her antenna twitching as she recognized the energy signature. It wasn't Confederation technology, but it wasn't entirely unfamiliar either. With a jolt, she realized it matched the energy that had disabled her ship. She turned to Alex, her mind whirling with possibilities. Using a combination of gestures and simple words, she conveyed her need to use the array. Alex nodded, stepping aside to give her access. As Solana interfaced with the alien technology, a holographic display flickered to life, filling the chamber with an eerie blue glow. Streams of data flowed across the screen, most of it encrypted, but some decipherable. What she saw made her blood run cold. Invasion plans, detailed schematics of Earth's defenses, or lack thereof, and at the center of it all, a name that sent shivers down her spine: the Harvesters. Solana had heard whispers of this group during her diplomatic training, a nomadic race of conquerors who moved from planet to planet, stripping them of resources before moving on. They were thought to be nothing more than a spacer's tail, a boogeyman to frighten young diplomats. But the evidence before her was undeniable. She turned to Alex, her face grave. How could she explain the magnitude of the threat they faced? To her surprise, Alex's expression mirrored her own. He pointed to the display, then to himself, then made a sweeping gesture encompassing the world around them. "Danger," he said simply. "Help." In that moment, Solana realized that Alex understood far more than she had given him credit for. This human, isolated in the wilderness, had been preparing for this moment, gathering intel and technology beyond his world's capabilities. With newfound respect, Solana nodded. "Yes," she replied. "We help." Over the next few hours, they worked in tandem, Solana decoding the alien data while Alex used his intimate knowledge of Earth's geography to plot potential landing sites and defensive positions. Their communication was a dance of gestures, simple words, and shared understanding that transcended language. As they worked, Solana couldn't help but marvel at the human's adaptability. Alex absorbed complex alien concepts with surprising speed, his eyes lighting up with each new discovery. In turn, his creative approaches to problem-solving often left Solana speechless. Where she saw insurmountable technological gaps, he saw opportunities but innovative solutions. Their progress was interrupted by another distant boom, closer this time. Alex's head snapped up, his eyes narrowing. He gestured for Solana to follow him, leading her to another hidden compartment. Inside was a collection of strange, organic-looking devices. Jammers, Alex explained, hefting one of the devices. Hide from them. Solana examined the jammer, amazed at how Alex had repurposed the alien technology. It emitted a low-level interference field, capable of masking their presence from advanced scanners. She nodded appreciatively, realizing that this human's ingenuity might be their greatest asset in the coming conflict. As they prepared to move their makeshift command center, a realization struck Solana. Her mission parameters, her sworn duty to non-interference, lay in tatters around her. But in its place, a new purpose had emerged. She was no longer just an observer of humanity, but their potential savior, and in turn, there might be the key to stopping a threat that endangered the entire galaxy. Alex must have sensed her internal struggle. He placed a hand on her shoulder, his green eyes meeting her multifaceted ones with surprising intensity. Together, he said firmly, echoing his gesture from the night before. Solana felt a warmth spread through her that had nothing to do with Earth's humid climate. She nodded, her antennae quivering with emotion. Together, she agreed. As they packed up their equipment, preparing to find a new hiding spot, Solana's mind raced with plans and possibilities. She needed to find a way to contact the Confederation, to warn them of the Harvester threat. But more immediately, she needed to help Alex warn his own people. The irony wasn't lost on her. She had come to Earth to judge humanity's readiness for the galactic stage. Instead, she found herself depending on a single human's help to save not just his world, but potentially many others. As they emerged from the hidden bunker, the forest around them was eerily quiet. The distant booms had stopped, but the tension in the air was palpable. Alex led the way, moving with a silence that belied his size, every sense alert for danger. Solana followed, her own senses straining. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, hunted. The Harvesters were out there, preparing for an invasion that would reshape the galaxy, and the only thing standing in their way was an unlikely alliance, a stranded alien diplomat and a human survivor, armed with nothing but salvage technology and indomitable spirit. As they disappeared into the depths of the forest, Solana allowed herself a moment of hope. If all of humanity was anything like Alex, perhaps Earth stood a chance after all. And maybe, just maybe, they would be the key to stopping the Harvesters once and for all. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was about to take center stage in a cosmic drama they never knew existed. All that remained was to sound the alarm and hope that someone would hear it in time. Echoes of the cosmos. The dense canopy above them shimmered with an otherworldly light, casting strange, undulating shadows across the forest floor. Solana's antennae twitched nervously as she followed Alex through the underbrush. They had been on the move for days, evading the ever-present hum of Harvester scout ships that periodically pierced the atmosphere. "Wait," Alex whispered, his hand raised. Solana froze, her multifaceted eyes scanning their surroundings. Alex crouched, running his fingers through the soil. He lifted a handful to his nose, inhaling deeply. His eyes widened. "Something's changed," he murmured. Solana knelt beside him, her sensory organs picking up an unfamiliar resonance in the earth. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but undeniably alien. "The Harvesters?" she asked, her translator struggling with the concept. Alex shook his head. "No, this is different. Older somehow." As if in response to his words, the ground beneath them began to tremble. Hairline fractures appeared in the soil, spreading outward in intricate geometric patterns. Solana stumbled back, her heart racing, but Alex stood transfixed, watching the phenomenon with a mixture of fear and wonder. Suddenly, a beam of intense blue-white light erupted from the center of the pattern, shooting skyward. The forest around them was bathed in its ethereal glow, leaves and branches casting long, twisted shadows. "What is it?" Solana breathed, her voice barely audible of the low hum emanating from the light. Alex shook his head, speechless for once. He reached out, his fingers hovering at the edge of the light. Before Solana could stop him, he stepped into the beam. "Alex, no," she cried, but it was too late. The human's form shimmered and distorted, becoming translucent, and then, in a flash, he was gone. Panic gripped Solana. She paced around the beam, her mind racing. Should she follow him? Was this some kind of harvester trap, or something else entirely? Her deliberations were cut short by a familiar sound, the whine of harvester engines, growing closer by the second. With a silent prayer to whatever cosmic forces might be listening, Solana stepped into the light, echoes of the cosmos. The dense canopy above them shimmered with an otherworldly light, casting strange, undulating shadows across the forest floor. Solana's antennae twitched nervously as she followed Alex through the underbrush. They had been on the move for days, evading the ever-present hum of harvester scout ships that periodically pierced the atmosphere. "Wait," Alex whispered, his hand raised. Solana froze, her multifaceted eyes scanning their surroundings. Alex crouched, running his fingers through the soil. He lifted a handful to his nose, inhaling deeply. His eyes widened. "Something's changed," he murmured. Solana knelt beside him, her sensory organs picking up an unfamiliar resonance in the earth. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but undeniably alien. "The harvesters?" she asked, her translator struggling with the concept. Alex shook his head. "No, this is different, older somehow." As if in response to his words, the ground beneath them began to tremble. Hairline fractures appeared in the soil, spreading outward in intricate, geometric patterns. Solana stumbled back, her heart's racing, but Alex stood transfixed, watching the phenomenon with a mixture of fear and wonder. Suddenly, a beam of intense, blue-white light erupted from the center of the pattern, shooting skyward. The forest around them was bathed in its ethereal glow, leaves and branches casting long, twisted shadows. "What is it?" Solana breathed, her voice barely audible over the low hum emanating from the light. Alex shook his head, speechless for once. He reached out, his fingers hovering at the edge of the light. Before Solana could stop him, he stepped into the beam. "Alex, no," she cried, but it was too late. The human's form shimmered and distorted, becoming translucent, and then, in a flash, he was gone. Panic gripped Solana. She paced around the beam, her mind racing. Should she follow him? Was this some kind of harvester trap, or something else entirely? Her deliberations were cut short by a familiar sound, the whine of harvester engines, growing closer by the second. With a silent prayer to whatever cosmic forces might be listening, Solana stepped into the light. The sensation was unlike anything she had ever experienced. It felt as if every atom in her body was being gently pulled apart, examined, and reassembled. Colors she had no name for flashed before her eyes, and sounds beyond the range of her hearing filled her mind. And then, as suddenly as it began, it was over. Solana found herself standing in a vast, circular chamber. The walls, floor, and ceiling were covered in the same intricate patterns she had seen in the forest, pulsing with soft, blue light. In the center of the room stood Alex, his eyes wide with amazement. "Solana," he breathed, I think we're inside Earth." Before she could respond, a voice echoed through the chamber, not in sound, but directly in their minds. It was ancient and multifaceted, as if multiple beings were speaking in perfect unison. "Welcome, children of the stars," it said. "We have waited eons for this moment." Holographic images sprang to life around them, showing the history of Earth from its formation to the present day. But interwoven with familiar scenes were glimpses of something more, vast structures buried deep within the planet, a hidden civilization that had existed alongside humanity without ever being detected. "We are the Guardians," the voice continued. "Stewards of this world since its inception. We have watched and guided, but never interfered directly. Until now. The images shifted, showing the approaching harvester fleet. Solana gasped as she saw the true scale of the invasion force for the first time. It was vast beyond imagining, easily capable of overwhelming Earth's defenses. "The threat you face is greater than you know," the Guardians said. "The harvesters do not merely seek resources, they harvest the very essence of worlds, their potential, their future." Earth stands at a crossroads, a nexus point in the cosmic tapestry. If it falls, countless other worlds will follow. Alex stepped forward, his face set with determination. "How can we stop them?" he asked. The chamber shifted, reconfiguring itself into a three-dimensional star map. At its center was Earth, surrounded by pulsing lines of energy that connected it to other worlds scattered throughout the galaxy. Earth is not defenseless, the Guardians explained. Buried within its core is an ancient network, a weapon of last resort left by those who came before us. It has the power to repel the harvester fleet, but it requires a key to activate. Solana's antenna quivered with excitement. "What kind of key?" "Not what, but who," the Guardians replied. 2 points of light appeared on the map, one over Solana, one over Alex. "The key is the union of two worlds, two perspectives. Alone, neither humanity nor the Confederation could hope to stand against the harvesters. But together..." The implications hit Solana like a supernova. Everything, her crash landing, meeting Alex, even the approaching invasion, had been leading to this moment. It wasn't mere chance that had brought them together, but the orchestrations of forces beyond their comprehension. Alex turned to her, his eyes shining with a mixture of fear and determination. "I don't fully understand what's happening," he said, "but I know we have to try. For Earth, for your people, for everyone." Solana nodded, feeling a surge of admiration for this remarkable human. "Together," she said, echoing their earlier pact. The chamber began to pulse with energy, the patterns on the walls spinning faster and faster. The voice of the Guardians rose to a crescendo in their minds. "The path ahead is fraught with danger," it warned. "The harvesters will sense the awakening of the ancient defenses. They will stop at nothing to prevent their activation. You must reach the planetary core and unite your essences with the network. Only then can Earth be saved." With a blinding flash, Solana and Alex found themselves back in the forest. The beam of light was gone, leaving no trace of the underground chamber. But they could feel the thrum of awakened power beneath their feet, the stirring of long-dormant energies. In the distance, they heard the screech of harvester ships entering the atmosphere in force. The invasion had begun. Alex turned to Solana, his face set with grim determination. "I hope you're ready for a road trip to the center of the Earth," he said with a wry smile. Solana's translator struggled with the idiom, but she understood the sentiment. They had been thrust into the heart of a cosmic conflict, tasked with a mission that seemed impossible. But as she looked at her human companion, she felt a spark of hope. Together, they set off towards the nearest access point to the underground network, guided by an instinct they didn't fully understand. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, rested in the hands of an unlikely pair, a stranded alien diplomat and a human survivalist, united by circumstance and cosmic design. The real adventure, Solana realized, was only just beginning. Symphonies of the Subterranean, the descent into Earth's depths, was unlike anything Solana could have imagined. They had found the access point, a seemingly ordinary cave that spiraled downward in ways that defied Euclidean geometry. As they journeyed deeper, the walls began to sing. It started as a faint hum, barely perceptible even to Solana's sensitive antennae. But as they descended, it grew into a complex, multifaceted melody. Alex stopped, pressing his palm against the cavern wall. "It's talking," he whispered, all evident in his voice. Solana nodded, her multifaceted eyes taking in spectrums of light invisible to human perception. "Not just talking, look." She guided Alex's hand to a specific spot, and suddenly, holographic symbols erupted from the stone, swirling around them in a dazzling display. Alex's eyes widened as he realized he could understand them, not through language, but through a kind of instinctive knowing. It's the history of Earth, he breathed, but not the one we know. There were others here long ago. They sang the planet into being. Solana's antenna quivered with excitement. Harmonic terraforming. I thought it was just a theory. Your Earth was literally composed like a symphony. Their wonder was short-lived. A violent tremor shook the cavern, and the melody turned discordant. Dust and small rocks rained down on them. The harvesters, Solana said grimly. They've begun their assault on the surface. Alex's jaw set with determination. Then we need to move faster. As they pressed on, the cave system became increasingly bizarre. They passed through chambers where gravity shifted unpredictably, forcing them to swim through the air. In one vast cavern, they encountered floating islands of rock, each home to its own unique ecosystem of bioluminescent flora and fauna. But it was the nodal nexus that truly took their breath away. They emerged onto a narrow stone bridge, suspended over an abyss of impossible depth. All around them, massive crystalline structures pulsed with energy, each one a different color. The air itself seemed alive with particles of light that danced and swirled in complex patterns. It's beautiful, Alex whispered. Solana nodded, her scientific mind racing to comprehend what she was seeing. These must be the planetary control nodes. Each one probably regulates a different aspect of Earth's systems. As if in response to her words, one of the crystals, a deep, oceanic blue, flickered and dimmed. The entire chamber shuddered. That can't be good, Alex said. A holographic display materialized before them, showing the Earth's surface. Vast swaths of the oceans were turning a sickly brown color. They're poisoning the waters, Solana realized with horror. Disrupting the entire marine ecosystem. Alex's fists clenched. We have to stop them. How do we, I don't know, reactivate the node or something? Solana studied the crystal structure, her antennae twitching as she sensed the complex energy fields surrounding it. I think we need to resonance. We need to what now? Resonance. The nodes respond to specific frequencies. If we can match that frequency. She trailed off, realizing the implications of what she was suggesting. Alex caught on quickly. We need to sing to it, like actually sing. Solana nodded. Not just any song. It needs to be us. Our experiences, our bond, our determination to save this world. The Guardians said we were the key, remember? This must be what they meant. Alex looked dubious, but he took a deep breath and nodded. Okay, so how do we do this? Solana reached out, taking his hand in hers. The moment their skin touched, she felt a spark of something, a connection that went beyond the physical. We harmonize, she said softly. Let the melody come from within. They closed their eyes, focusing on their shared experiences, the crash, the hiding, the discovery of the Guardians. Slowly, a tune began to form. Alex's deep, resonant voice blended with Solana's higher, ethereal tones. The song had no words, at least not in any language either of them knew, but it carried the weight of their emotions, their hopes and their fears. As they sang, the air around them began to shimmer. The particles of light swirled faster, coalescing around the dimmed crystal. Tendrils of energy reached out, enveloping Alex and Solana in a cocoon of light. The blue crystal pulsed once, twice, and then blazed to life with renewed vigor. On the holographic display, they watched as the oceans began to clear, the poisoned waters purified by some unseen force. As their song faded, Alex and Solana opened their eyes, staring at each other in wonder. Did we just heal an ocean by singing? Alex asked incredulously. Solana's antennae quivered with excitement. We did more than that. Look. The other crystals in the chamber were glowing brighter now, resonating with the energy they had created. The entire nodal nexus hummed with renewed power. But their victory was short-lived. Another violent tremor shook the cavern, and new holographic displays sprang to life, showing harvester ships breaching the upper layers of the Earth's crust. "They're coming," Philana said grimly. "They must have sensed the reactivation of the node." Alex's face set with determination. "Then we keep going. We've seen what we can do together. We can reach the core, activate the defenses." Philana nodded, feeling a surge of admiration for her human companion's indomitable spirit. Together, she agreed. As they set off deeper into the Earth's mysteries, neither of them noticed the small spark of energy that jumped between them where their hands were still clasped. A spark that spoke of a connection deeper than either of them yet realized, a harmony that could reshape the very fabric of the cosmos. The song of Earth continued around them, now with two new voices added to its ancient chorus, and somewhere far below, at the planet's core, something stirred in response, awakening, waiting, ready to defend its home against those who would harvest its future. Quantum entanglement of souls. As Alex and Philana delved deeper into Earth's core, the very nature of reality began to shift around them. The rough stone passages gave way to corridors that seemed to be made of pure light, pulsing with colors that had no names in any language. "I don't think we're in Kansas anymore," Alex muttered, his voice echoing strangely in the non-space. Philana's antenna twitched in confusion. "We were never in Kansas. Is this another of your Earth idioms?" Before Alex could respond, the corridor around them shimmered and twisted. Suddenly, they found themselves standing in a vast chamber that defied comprehension. The floor beneath their feet was a swirling vortex of galaxies, while the ceiling seemed to be a living tapestry of mathematical equations that constantly shifted and rearranged themselves. At the center of the chamber stood a structure that hurt the eyes to look at directly. It appeared to be a massive double helix, but instead of DNA, it was composed of pure energy, quantum particles, and what looked unsettlingly like fragments of memories and emotions. "The cosmic loom," Philana breathed, her scientific mind struggling to process what she was seeing. "I thought it was just a myth." Alex squinted at the structure. "Care to fill in the alien to cosmic wonders here?" Philana's antenna quivered with excitement. According to legend, the cosmic loom is where the fabric of reality itself is woven. Every string represents a possible timeline, a potential future. But I never thought. Her words were cut off as the chamber around them erupted in alarm. Red tendrils of energy began to infiltrate the swirling galaxies at their feet, and discordant notes shattered the mathematical harmony above. "The harvesters," Alex growled. "They're breaching the outer defenses." A booming voice, somehow both within and around them, spoke. "Children of stars and soil, the moment of truth is upon us. The harvesters seek not just to conquer, but to unravel. They would rewrite the very story of your world, of all worlds. You must prevent this." "How?" Philana asked, her voice small in the face of such cosmic forces. In response, two strands of energy separated from the cosmic loom, snaking towards them. One was a deep, earthy brown shot through with veins of green and blue. The other was a shimmering, opalescent white that seemed to contain every color imaginable. "You must weave yourselves into the fabric of this world's story," the voice intoned. "Only by becoming one with Earth's past, present, and all possible futures can you unlock the power to defend it." Alex and Philana exchanged a look. There was fear there, yes, but also determination and something deeper, a connection that had been growing between them since that first moment in the forest. "Together?" Alex asked, extending his hand. Philana's multifaceted eyes shimmered with emotion. "Always," she replied, taking his hand in hers. As one, they reached out and grasped the energy strands. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. Philana felt herself stretched across eons, experiencing the birth of stars and the cooling of molten planets. She was the first single-celled organism emerging from Earth's primordial oceans, the first plant to unfurl leaves towards the sun, the first creature to crawl onto land and breathe air. Alex's consciousness expanded to encompass the entire sweep of human history. He was the first spark of self-awareness in a primitive hominid's eyes, the first cave painting, the first word spoken in love. He was every triumph and tragedy, every war and every peace, every scientific breakthrough and artistic masterpiece. And through it all, they were aware of each other, their essences intertwining like the very strands of the cosmic loom. Human and alien, earth and stars, past and future, all became one in a symphony of existence. As their merged consciousness expanded to fill the chamber, they became aware of the harvesters not as an external threat, but as a discord in the music of reality itself. They were a cancerous growth, a parasite that sought to consume not just worlds, but possibilities. With a thought that encompassed millennia, Alex/Selana reached out to the cosmic loom. They began to weave, not with hands, but with the very essence of their beings. They took the thread of Earth's history and braided it with strands of cosmic wisdom, creating a new pattern in the fabric of reality. The chamber around them blazed with light as the new weave took hold. The red tendrils of the harvester invasion began to fray and disintegrate, unable to maintain their hold in the face of this new, harmonious pattern. Outside, on the surface of the Earth, the harvester ships found themselves enveloped in a field of energy that defied their most advanced technology. Crops of crystalline structures erupted from the ground, emitting pulses of energy that shattered the invaders' weapons and drove their minds to the brink of madness. The oceans rose up in great, sentient waves, swatting ships from the sky like insects. The very air came alive, forming tornado-like funnels that danced with impossible precision, dismantling the harvester fleet piece by piece. And through it all, a song echoed, not in sound, but in the very fabric of reality. It was the song Alex and Selana had sung in the nodal nexus, but amplified a millionfold, harmonizing with the fundamental frequencies of the universe itself. In the chamber of the cosmic loom, Alex and Selana's physical forms had long since dissolved, their essences merged completely with the strands of Earth's reality. Yet somehow, they maintained their individual awareness within the greater whole. "It's beautiful," Alex's thought whispered across eons. "It's terrifying," Selana's consciousness responded. "It's both," they realized together. "It's life." As the last of the harvester ships fled or fell, the energy in the chamber began to subside. Alex and Selana felt themselves being gently disentangled from the cosmic loom, their essences coalescing back into physical form. They found themselves standing hand in hand before the now quietly humming loom, their bodies restored but forever changed. Selana's skin now shimmered with an inner light that pulsed in time with the Earth's core, while Alex's eyes held depths that seemed to reflect the vastness of space. The voice spoke once more. "You have done well, children of two worlds. Earth is safe, and the harvesters have been shown the folly of their ways. But your journey is far from over." Before them, a new strand began to form in the cosmic loom, a brilliant, pulsing thread that combined the earthen tones of humanity with the opalescent shimmer of the stars. "You have woven yourselves into the story of this world, and in doing so, you have created something new. A bridge between Earth and the cosmos, between the physical and the sublime. Your task now is to nurture this new strand, to help it grow and flourish." Alex and Selana looked at each other, seeing themselves anew through eyes that had witnessed the birth and death of stars. "I don't suppose there's a manual for this sort of thing," Alex quipped, his voice carrying echoes of thunder and birdsong. Selana's laughter chimed like crystal bells. "I think we're beyond manuals now, my love. We'll write our own story." As they turned to leave the chamber, ready to face a world forever changed by their actions, the voice offered one last piece of wisdom. "Remember, children of the cosmic loom, the greatest power in the universe is not destruction, but creation. You have reshaped reality itself with the power of your bond. Now go forth and create a future worthy of the sacrifice and wonder that brought you to this moment." Hand in hand, their steps leaving trails of stardust and sprouting flowers, Alex and Selana ascended towards a world reborn, ready to weave the next chapter in the grand tapestry of existence.